Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of NFL Fantasy Matchup. I'd like to say it's our last
Yeah,
episode, but we're probably going to have free agency and all of the other stuff. But as it relates to this particular season, we're done with the championships done. So, good morning, everyone.
yeah. Good morning, and congrats again. If you didn't hear, to Chris, who won our $1,000 league, our 1K league, which was sponsored by American Family Insurance. I lost in the championship to him. I'm glad that one of the three of us made it there, so we survived. But congrats to Chris, a really hard fought victory. I think Lamar Jackson really kind of anchored his team and brought it home for him.
Yeah, he actually had a good team. I think we were just talking about this earlier. He was saying yesterday when we had lunch together that the thing that did it for him was he made a trade with Tommy, Lamar Jackson for Kyler Murray and Sam Laporta, and that's the one trade that won him this championship.
And
Yeah,
honestly, if I look back upon that trade, is Kyler Murray, I thought was going to be at least he was pretty good. There were times when he was really good. There were times where he struggled, and I just couldn't do work with him in my other league. And Sam Laporta was a huge disappointment because I got him when he was injured, but he did so well. And so suddenly now you tell you into a huge PPR and red zone target, and also quarterback who would have thought that Lamar Jackson would do so well.
yeah, I don't think that was a bad trade. I still don't think it was a bad trade because you got basically a 2 for 1. I could still see pulling trigger. I love trades that really benefit both teams, and I think it could have been, if Kyler Murray had had a better season, it could have worked out that way. But also the other thing, I was just saying, Chris picked up Mark Andrews, who I actually dropped roughly week 5 or week 6 when he didn't have a good start. And Chris picked him up at some point and played him, and that paid out for him this past week as well. As Andrews had 16 points, including a touchdown. So again, kudos to Chris. And Chris also, so he was the 5th seed, so he kind of squeezed in as the 5th seed. Ended up beating, I think, the number 1 or number 2 seed, and then got
Number
into
one
the
seed.
jet. Yeah, the
Mhm.
number 1 seed. So you just never know if you got to fight to get in for those playoffs, and then you never know what's going to
Well,
happen.
it was funny because number one seed. I mean, he had a great team, right? He had Saquon, he had Jalen Hurts, he had all of those guys, but he got so mad because remember Jalen
Yeah,
went
Hurts
out
went
with
out. Yep,
concussion,
yep,
and that's the thing that hurt him, and that's why he ended up losing that game.
Yeah.
yeah.
And versus a lot of times with Chris, you look at him. He has Tyreek Hill, he has Brian Robinson, and he had Jamison Williams. Who would have thought Jamison Williams would come on and Brian Thomas emerge as a stud wide receiver for him?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think those last weeks, I mean, you have to really like figure out who are the extras. And I was saying how for me, like Baker Mayfield is really what kind of saved me these last few weeks. Had a great run, and then Jalen McMillan, that number 2 wide receiver in Tampa Bay, I had him sitting on my bench. But I had played him the previous week, but I didn't have the guts to play him this week.
Yeah,
But those pickups are really what save you in the
yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah.
And if you look at Chris's team, I'm looking at it right now. His number 1 pick was Tyreek Hill. His
Yep,
number 2 pick was Travis Etienne.
yep.
And when you have 2 bad picks in a row, but at the same time, I traded Lamar Jackson, and early in the year, I justified it, and you live with the consequences.
Jet, I will say I was convinced you were going to win, right? Because Baker Mayfield ended up scoring close to 40 fantasy points. You had
Yep.
Terry McLaren coming up, and he had Tyreek Hill without a Tua. And so I was like, pretty much, Jed's got it locked in. But the problem is, like we were talking about, McLaren only had one
At
reception,
1 point. Yep.
and Tua. Tyreek Hill actually did a pretty decent job, right? And
Yep.
Jameson Williams yesterday. I mean, really, if Jameson had a bad game, you still had a chance.
Yep.
If Jameson scored that touchdown, and it was done. It was over.
Yeah, and it was a flea flicker touchdown that he scored it on. But to the point about Terry McLaren, again, I felt good going into that game, but you could see the defenses, they basically were rolling coverages to his side, and so it freed Zach Ertz, who Zach Ertz had a huge game. I think he had 2 touchdowns. And so it just you never know, but that's what's so fun about fantasy. Like
Yeah.
you just never know what's gonna happen.
And also the guy who killed you, James Conner.
Yes, yes. I played Connor. I had him on my bench, and then they declared him healthy for the game. So I played him. He played 4 snaps and then got hurt. So yeah, that. But you know what? I look back and I love going back to our draft. We should always recap our draft and kind of see how we did and how it played out. I look back at my draft and I had Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, James Conner in my top three, and like those are they all played out pretty well. So like they all ended up being pretty good
Yeah.
performers.
Yeah.
And also, you played Jerome Ford.
Yes, I know that was a total. I should not have gone with a Cleveland running back. That was a
Yeah.
mistake.
Side note, before we moved on, I was distracted because Donna, my sister-in-law, is coming back home from Atlanta, and she texts me, Tommy, do you want anything from Buc-ee's? Where in
Yes.
the world is
Oh,
Buc-ee's?
the gas station,
Oh, it's
right?
awesome.
Seriously? I said, what is Buc-ee's?
Bucky's. It's called
Yeah, it's,
Bucky's. Even they.
it's a beaver. Bucky the
Yeah.
beaver. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I should text her and say, hey, wait a minute.
So
No,
we
okay, but here's the thing, Jed. I want when I go to my gas station, I just want to go in and out. That thing is like a Walmart, Target, right?
Costco. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stay there. You got to plan. Oh no, I love Bucky's, guys. If you don't know Bucky's, it's this huge gas station. It started in the South. It's heavy in Texas. I think they are in Missouri. They're coming up. There's going to be one in Wisconsin. They're going to be
Yeah,
building.
yeah, hearing about that.
And but it is great. They have great food, a lot of prepared items, huge drinks, really really clean bathrooms, and they brag about it, but it's true. It's like
Yeah.
huge, beautiful bathroom space. It's a perfect spot to stop if you're on a long road trip. We actually have. Do you guys know Wally's up here in Illinois?
I've heard of it. I don't think
So
I've
we have Wally's, which is kind of similar, but Bucky's is awesome. I've got a Bucky's mug around here somewhere.
Okay, so I went back to Donna. I said, Donna, yes, they're telling me to get me a mug from Buc-ee's. So she's going to get me a mug from Buc-ee's.
That place is awesome. I love
Yeah.
it. Oh, really good beef jerky too. If you like beef jerky,
Is it
like
really?
50
Yeah.
different kinds of beef jerky.
Side note, speaking of that, I was telling you, and a lot of times there's a lot of traveling, and during the Christmas holiday, I have no desire to travel. So my sister-in-law left at Friday night with her family. They drive all throughout the night to Atlanta. They get there Saturday morning. They're dead tired. They got to hang out with people, and now they just left this morning. It's
Wow.
exhausting. It is
Wow.
exhausting. I wouldn't do it.
That's a huge trip. Have you guys spent time in Atlanta recently?
Yes.
I went to the Coca-Cola Museum.
Yeah, I like Atlanta a lot. Like I was there, like we drove through a couple years ago, and I was surprised at how much I like Atlanta.
There is nothing better than their aquarium. Their aquarium is phenomenal.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Anyways, do
Uh,
you guys believe the fantasy season is over? It's kind of
No,
sad.
it's
I
sad.
was,
Yeah,
when it was done yesterday, I told my wife, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now for these next few months?
yeah, same. I really enjoy it. Every year it goes so fast, and this was an exciting year. I mean, guys, we had both the fight to get into the playoffs for the NFL. That was exciting, but also the draft picks. Can you believe the Giants gave up the number
yeah,
one pick by winning? Now New England has a lockhold on the number one pick. I was shocked that
Yeah.
happened.
Yes. Jed, I have put all my money on Indianapolis Colts because if they win, they get in the playoffs. And I'm saying, there's no way the Giants, they're going to find some way to lose. And then when Malik Neighbors got that second touchdown, I said, what in the world is he running for that touchdown for?
Yeah,
Well, here's the other thing, too, is now New York potentially drops to number 4, right? If they want a quarterback, my guess is New England's going to trade that number 1 pick
yep.
to someone who's going to want a quarterback. The teams above him, above New England, all want a quarterback. So potentially, unless they're trading up, I mean, this is essentially what Houston did. And so if they're going to trade up, they don't have an option to bring in a quarterback right now.
Yeah. Well, New England is sitting really pretty now. I mean, they're going to, if they have that number one pick, they're going to trade down, get a ton of picks. They've already got their quarterback. They like Drake May. They're going to stick with him. They can build around him. This is like, to me, I mean, my oldest son is a Patriots fan, and he was ecstatic. He was like, I cannot believe Giants won that game. So now New England is really sitting pretty.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, are they going to keep that coach, right? Because
Yeah.
there's word out there that Mike Vrabel is going to end up being the head coach for it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think Drake May is good. I do think they need some wide receivers around him. Stevenson's serviceable, but I do think that they need some wide receiver.
There's a hilarious kind of roundup of how bad New England is at drafting wide receivers. They are comically bad. Like it just for some reason they cannot draft wide receivers. I don't know what it is, but you can go back and look at that. But have you guys heard of? They're saying in Chicago. I don't know how much validity, but they're talking about the former Seattle coach coming here.
Pete Carroll.
Yeah,
Well,
Pete Carroll.
plus when they played that game against Seattle, I guess Pete Carroll's agent threw it out there and says, "Hey, Pete's interested in potentially talking to someone about the Chicago Bears coaching vacancy."
Yeah, the only problem with Pete Carroll, he's old. All right, the guy's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
70s, and so
yeah,
how many years is he going to do it? Wouldn't
yeah.
you rather go with a younger coach who could get you there and be there for at least 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, that's a good thought.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, in terms of the draft, is the person there's a temptation you could trade it for a lot of picks, but Travis Hunter, the wide
Yeah,
receiver cornerback, is sitting there in number one, and
yep,
so
yeah.
that's who they're projected if there's no trade for them to stay.
I would think Shadur, the quarterback out of Colorado, is going to go number one.
They're
No,
looking at number
he's
two
gonna
or
go
three
number
with
two.
Cam
Yeah,
Ward and Sanders.
yeah,
Okay, okay.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
think
I
Cam
mean,
Ward out of Miami is really good.
yeah, yeah. Well, Travis Hunter, I mean, what an exciting talent. I mean, and it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think most folks have said that he cannot play both positions in the NFL. He's going to have to pick one to focus on. And in terms of the money, it kind of would make sense if he focused on the cornerback position and then got the money for that and then just played some wide receiver, in some certain special packages. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because he's
look,
definitely an exciting
and
talent.
look, the Bears. I think the Bears are what 8, 9 number pick.
Yeah.
They're up there in the top 10 again.
Yep.
Yeah, Jim, there is actually, I wish they would move up, but there's two offensive linemen from LSU, Will Campbell, but
Mhm.
Calvin Banks from the University of Texas. Both of them are really good, so they can't go wrong. The problem is they lose two of them because these are two stud offensive linemen. So I would love for them to move up to 7 or 6 or something like that. So one of those teams has to lose one game, and for the Bears to lose another game for them to move up.
Yeah.
Who they play Green Bay. I mean, most likely they'll end up losing to Green Bay.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there's no reason the Bears should win any of
Yeah.
these games. They should
Yeah.
just lose. It's whether the other games
Yeah, which is like
yeah,
Tennessee, Jacksonville, right? The Giants. We just need one of those teams to win, and then we can move up.
and I can tell you they're not losing. They're not winning. None of I don't see any of those guys winning.
Well, they're even saying, and I'm surprised by this. They're even saying that with Saquon, they're not even going to try to go after the record.
I know. I was so mad at that. I want him to.
That's
Yeah.
you never know, but that's the word.
I want him to beat Dickerson's record. I was saying that. I think Dickerson is such a I don't know. I just don't like him. Seems like such a jerk.
Yeah. Hey, going back to the draft, if you were the New York Giants owner, wouldn't you be so mad sitting in the box that says, "What are you people doing?
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
I don't.
an opportunity."
I don't think you blame the players. I think the players they're going to go out to win and that's fine. But you can blame management to say like, what are you doing playing like neighbors? Like sit neighbors, sit your best players. Like, why are you playing those guys?
I will say, right? Didn't Neighbors prove that guy is going to be a stud wide receiver next
Oh,
year?
he is. He
When you
is.
look at who you want to. I mean, I don't know if you guys do this, but as I look towards the end of the season, my first thought is, okay, who are the players that I'm mentally noting that I want to draft early on? And
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is one of those guys.
Well, he's probably a keeper. Whoever has neighbors is probably going to keep him in our keeper leagues.
Yeah, in our keeper league.
Yeah.
The only problem with Malik Neighbors, right? He was doing so well at this rate. Then he had concussion and he came back. It's taken him so many weeks and it was not a very good quarterback, Drew Lock.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so a lot of times you're wondering, was it because of Daniel Jones? Was it because of DeVito, all those guys, or Luck? Or did he have a hard time working through some of those things? I don't know.
I think the hard one is Marvin Harrison, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. He did not have a great season. Did not meet expectations. I spent $100 on our keeper league. It's a really. I think I have to keep him, but it's a really tough call. He did not have a great year. We'll see if he can turn it around.
Jed,
Well,
wouldn't you say if you had to redraft it right now, it would be Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Odunze, and Harrison?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I definitely would not have spent all that money on him. But you're trying. To me, you're swinging for the fences with these rookie players when you're hoping that they'll turn out. And I do think the wide receiver position is different now. Like this first year wide receivers being able to perform so well, that's new. That's different. It used to take wide receivers 2-3 years. Now they're just coming right out of the gate and being able to perform.
By the way, before our waiver wires closed up in our dynasty league, I did pick up a couple players, thinking
Sneaky.
that I may need them. So I picked up Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk. I picked up a Dunze, a Noah Gray, Michael Penix, and a Guerrero. I don't know if any
That's
of them,
good.
but I was like, you never know. I just keep some of these guys. Right now, I got Drake London, Juwan Jennings, Bijan, Chris Brown, Trey McBride, even Lad McConkey. Lad McConkey. Like
Oh,
Christian
he was great.
McCaffrey is on my IL. I would consider today not keeping him in my dynasty this year.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that. And Lad McConkey, he was great, especially
Yeah,
in PPR
McConkey's good.
leagues. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I like the Brandon Ayuk pick. I mean, he's going to come back. That's not a bad move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Purdy was doing pretty good yesterday too until he got injured.
Oh, I heard another crazy stat, guys. I had to say this. So we all talked about NILs this year and how that has impacted college sports. Did you know the 16 teams in the SEC, the starting quarterbacks for the 16 teams in the SEC, every single one of them made more in NIL money than Brock Purdy made in
That's
his
crazy.
third year in the NFL?
Yeah.
I know. I was so shocked. I don't think we realize how much money is
No,
coming
it's
in at the
crazy.
NIL.
Okay, but don't you think? Here's the thing: you think Brock Purdy he's gonna get $50 million?
Oh, he's gonna. Yeah, he deserves it. He
Sure,
deserves
right?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But he was on that rookie contract, so that's why he's stuck. But still, it shocked me that the 16th place team in the SEC, that quarterback is making more than Brock Purdy.
Yeah. Speaking of Brock Purdy, yesterday's game, two players that stuck out: Pearsall and Guerrero. Really stood out for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guerrero
Guerrero,
looked great.
they said, is
Guerrero is
faster
good.
than Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He's more elusive. Hey, look, you're going to have to make a hard decision. You love Christian McCaffrey, but he gets injured quite a lot. And Pearsall is that number one receiver. Pretty good as your wide
No,
receiver.
but
He reminds
here's the
me.
thing, and I'm not saying that this has a factor into it. Shanahan has deep ties to McCaffrey's family. Remember,
Yeah.
he's his babysitter.
Yeah,
He's loyal to McCaffrey. He's going to take care of McCaffrey.
yeah. That's a really tough one. But you're right.
Rendo's a good player to
Very
keep
good.
an eye on for the next
Yeah.
few years because I think he could be the future.
But that gives you one extra running back. Jordan Mason is a trading chip for you to continue. Because I bet you someone would trade a third, fourth round draft pick for a Jordan Mason.
You know,
Guys, I drafted Jordan Mason when I was so like I look back, that was my second to last pick. I was like, man, that was a good pick.
yeah. There were a couple of good. Going back to quarterbacks. Yes, Josh Allen is somebody I would love, but if you're thinking about the Brock Purdy, a Baker Mayfield,
Mayfield,
a Jared Goff this year, looking at yesterday's game, they're good quarterbacks to have on your team.
No, this was the year of redemption for quarterbacks. I think Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, they really, basically revitalized their career and justified why they had such high picks when they came out, right? Number one for, and so I think it was a really nice, but it also shows you don't have to draft a quarterback high. If you wait, you can get a good quarterback.
Or Jed, the MVP of my league, was somebody that people kind of thought Joe Burrow.
Oh,
Joe
yeah.
Burrow, for a guy who does
Yeah.
not run, was phenomenal. I kept getting 26, 30 points from Joe Burrow every single time.
He was averaging 3 touchdowns a game for the second half of the season, which is insane.
Wouldn't you guys agree? Next year, if you look at the top 3 quarterbacks fantasy wise, Lamar, Allen, and
Joe
right?
Burrow.
Like
Yep.
Patrick Mahomes is not up there anymore.
No, definitely not. No, Mahomes wasn't even top 20 this year. I don't know if he's going to end up being even top 20, top 25.
I will say, Tommy, I was looking at because he was in the championship in the other league. Chuba Hubbard, Joe Burrow really helped him out this year. Those are the guys. So
Yeah. And who would have thought? I thought Chuba Hubbard was just a temporary solution.
Yeah.
But he ended up being their primary running back out of the backfield, and he was good. And Joe Burrow, I made a trade for him because I got so frustrated with Kyler Murray.
Well, the old running backs, that's the other theme, right? Chuba Hubbard, you had Derrick Henry, you had Saquon Barkley. It was the proof that actually these feature backs, they're still really important. You can't just trade them in and out. Like some of these star players, like they're still really good.
And I would probably say Jed and Jimmy, Jonathan Taylor really did well, especially the
Second
second.
half. Yeah.
He really impressed me, and Jared Goff really impressed me.
Yeah, I don't like the situation in Indianapolis though. I think that's where I
No,
would.
especially with Richardson, because it takes
Yeah,
away from Taylor.
yeah, yeah. But I agree. Taylor is still a great talent. I mean, it was just fun to see, really strong running back play. I feel like I miss him. So, for example, David Montgomery, everyone worried about him as being the number two back in Detroit. He had a great season
You know,
before his injury. He had a really great year.
did you guys see that video that's been going around of the New York Giants from that HBO series?
Mhm.
So it's all
Oh,
of them and the general manager, and they're talking about how the Bears are raising the price on Saquon. And one of the other coaches, or I don't know who they were, was saying, "Look, there's no way we can keep Saquon, right? It's either going to be Daniel Jones or Saquon. We can't keep both, and there's no way Saquon's going to have 2,000 yards. So let's get rid of him." And so they're making fun of him about how they all kept Daniel Jones and got rid of Saquon.
yeah, I'm happy for Saquon. I mean, that guy. That for me, one of the key plays this year was his backward leap. Flip. That was and they put it into the Madden game, which is really
Yeah. Oh,
cool.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, they put it into the Madden games. It's a really neat move.
The question that I would have, right, and I don't know if this matters to you, for sure he's going to go number one. Saquon's going to be a risk. I don't know if I necessarily want to take him. I mean, but you never know, right? Like next year, he can have another good year, but you're always thinking at some point these running backs are going to hit a plateau and they're going to fall off. But
I mean, the key is in Philly is the line, right? The offensive line was so strong this year, so you just got to see like, are they able to maintain that going into next year? Then yeah, I do think he's probably going to be a number one.
yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I'll be thinking like I've been looking at dynasty rankings. I've been looking at like who you want to take next year. But I mean, Lamar, we were talking to one of our friends that we were helping him. He just won first place, and he won because he got Lamar and a bunch of the Detroit players.
Yeah.
And so he's so happy because this is his second year in a row that he finished first place.
Yeah. Oh, that's impressive. Back to back is very hard.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you. I'm looking at our NFL Fantasy 1K matchup. Here's our draft. If I throw out a name, tell me if he's fall in the top 10. Christian McCaffrey.
Oh no, I'm not touching that guy.
I'm not touching. I think someone will draft him in the top 10, but I'm not going to touch him.
CD Lamb.
Yeah, I think he'll still be pretty good.
Oh, for sure. CeeDee Lamb had a great. I mean, I think he proved that regardless of the quarterback, either Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott, he paid out. So I think CeeDee Lamb is definitely still top 10.
Tyreek Hill.
Oh, that was tough. Yeah, I think. I mean, like you said, Jimmy, he had a great day this past weekend, but he was hurt too. This is the first time we saw him get hurt. So he could have a nice bounce back year, but I could see him dropping into the.
Well, how about this?
Round.
You've always liked Tyreek
Yep.
Hill. I've always never see ever since he left, and I've been wrong on some occasions, but every year I was like, I'm going to stay away from Tyreek Hill because I just don't think he's.
I mean, I'm still keeping him in our keeper league. I'm not dropping him. I'll keep him, but I think next year he'll probably go in the second or third round.
Yeah. Brees Hall.
Ooh,
No,
the Jets are so bad. Yeah.
Bijan Robinson, is he the number one running back next year?
No, I think Saquon's going to be number one, but I can see Bijan being number 2 or 3 up there.
Guys, don't sleep on Derrick Henry. You probably can get Derrick Henry in the second round. People are going to still be worried about him being old. The guy is amazing. Like, I think you still get him.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, no, I'm not picking him up. Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen with the Jets? Do you think they're going to keep Rodgers or get rid of him?
I can see them keeping Rodgers for one more year. That's my thought. Because, I mean, they've already got Devontae and all those guys. There's going to be pressure for them to try for one more year.
If they do that, then I don't want Garrett because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like him.
Except if you bring in a new coach and new GM who they all have to find, then that person may clean house and trade everyone for draft picks to start all over. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, especially with David.
He's awesome.
Jahmyr Gibbs,
he's awesome. Yeah. Top 5. Jahmyr Gibbs, top 5.
If you were to look at the top running backs, it really comes down to Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley. But right before that, probably, wouldn't you say, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry, Kyren Williams?
Mm-hmm.
I would take Jahmyr Gibbs over Bijan Robinson. Yeah.
Oh, you would?
You would take Jahmyr, yeah.
Because of the pass catching. His pass catching is Bijan is not good catching out of the backfield. I don't know why.
Yeah. Has Puka Nacua emerged as one of your top 10 wide receivers or top 10 players?
No.
Puka, No,
No.
top 10 wide receiver for sure.
Oh, well, I think the issue is the injury risk. He's not, the guy's going to get hurt. He's so reckless. Like he's not going to play a full season. That's the problem.
But don't you agree though? He's the number one wide receiver in LA now. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's
Oh, yes.
Cooper
Oh,
Cup,
yeah. They're getting rid of
right?
Cooper Cup.
But his
Yeah.
numbers when he's playing
Oh,
is
yeah.
amazing, right? Like look at the last few games. He and who is it? Jonathan Taylor. They really took off in these last few games.
You know what? Puka reminds me of Debo Samuel. Great talent when he plays, amazing. But the issue is how many games is he going to play?
Well,
Like, that's the
actually,
issue.
it's funny when I saw Debo scored that touchdown, I was like, oh, I forgot that Debo played for that team.
I need Isaiah Guerrero to score that touchdown. That's all I'm saying. not him. Yeah. In the top 20 was Devon A. Chan and Drake London. Do you think they fall into the third round next year?
Um, I don't know about Achan, but I think with Drake London, you saw he had a pretty good rapport with Michael Penix Jr. And actually, I mean, and Penix was going towards the sidelines quite a bit, and it was always London that was picking up those receptions.
Yeah, both Penix and Bo Nix in Denver, like they surprised me. They look good.
Mhm.
Like I think Atlanta is a good team to have a bounce back year
Yeah.
next year, and so I think a Drake London is someone you want to look at.
Even the
Hey,
Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Yep.
It's a huge risk, but they made the right decision. They cut
Yep.
Kirk Cousins humongous salary cap issue, earning a large salary. That was a huge risk. If Penix came in and just did nothing, they'd be highly, highly criticized because they have two problems right there.
Don't you guys think that for sure Kirk Cousins is gone next year?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was so surprised though, guys. I thought Cousins would be a lot better there. I don't know. I think he's probably still injured or something because he did
I
not
think
look
he's
good.
injured. I would not be surprised that he's going to go to another team. I could see him winning a comeback player of the
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
I don't think he's 100%, but
Yeah,
I still think he's actually a pretty good. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think who he might maybe
New
like a
Orleans.
Sam Darnold, like a Sam
yeah,
Darnold
New
situation.
Orleans, Raiders. They might
Yeah.
actually be good places. For
New
him.
Orleans would probably be the best place for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isaiah Pacheco got drafted number 18
I
this
don't like
past year.
Pacheco, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I thought Kareem Hunt, that was a really good pickup. If you picked up Kareem Hunt when he signed with Kansas City, like you got a lot out of him.
you had a good 5 or 6 games with him.
Yep.
Yes, but the problem that I had, and I had a lot of Kareem Hunt, is once you got into the playoffs, who in the world do I play? Because you can't play him anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, you know who's a good running back that came in for the playoffs for a lot of people? Rico Daldo. And that guy was like nowhere at the beginning, but Rico Daldo actually turned out to be a pretty. And I think they finally decided that he was going to be the number one running back.
All right, here's a couple of players that drafted high that you probably will not look at next year, but let me know your thoughts. Chris Olave, Travis Kelsey, DJ Moore.
Well,
I could see him playing, you know,
I was going to say Travis Kelsey is interesting because of the tight. I think we really saw a flip of the script with the tight end order now, right? Like we for the longest time, it was Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, Mark
Yeah.
Andrews up at the top.
you know,
Now I think that has really changed, right?
And
I think
Bowers,
Yep.
Laporta, and
Trey McBride,
those
Bowers,
those-
I think, is the clear number one. Clear number one. That guy was unbelievable this year. I think a lot of teams rode him to championships. So to me, like he's the clear number one.
Mhm.
Yeah. MVP of your league? Across all your different platforms?
For me personally, it was Derrick Henry. I had Derrick Henry in pretty much all of, and James Conner. James Conner, every year people don't draft James Conner for some
Yeah.
reason because Kyler Murray's sitting there, but he
Yeah.
always produces. So those are my two main guys.
Yeah, mine was Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow, everything that I had. And even our keeper league, I had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and those guys were really good. But toward the end, Brian Thomas saved my day every single year.
I will say, and I'm not saying that these guys were like the MVPs for the league, but the 3 players on my team who really did well for me, especially towards the playoffs: Mayfield,
Yeah, Baker
Bucky
Mayfield.
Irving, and also Brian Thomas. Those guys like really helped me to get from middle of the pack to actually getting into the semifinals championship games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dud of the year.
Ooh.
Jade. What's his name? Who's the wide receiver for what's the name for Green Bay? Oh, Jaden Reed. Jaden
Mm.
Reed was. I felt like he had a lot of good potential, but just never met it. So,
The guy for me, and this is just a personal thing, I've always really liked DK Metcalf. I
mm,
drafted him, I think, fourth in the fourth round, and like he did not produce. And that guy is he's no the number one is now Jackson Smith Enigma in
mhm.
Hmm.
Seattle. And so I we liked him. We talked about him on this podcast a lot, but I did not see that switch would happen so quick. And I just thought Metcalf would be better than he was, but
Yeah.
he wasn't.
The other person that I'm looking at and I'm thinking about, Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be like
Oh,
top four fantasy quarterback,
yep,
and he stunk it up.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, Indianapolis, I think as a whole, really hurt a lot of people. I mean, and again, I always talk about this. Like, I like to think about the team storylines. So you think about like Indianapolis, we all thought they'd be great. They were terrible. Jacksonville was horrible. Even though we all thought Houston, really, you could even argue Houston. CJ Stroud did not have a
No,
good
no,
year.
yeah.
So
I mean,
you
you
could,
had, yeah, because CJ Stroud, you had ETN. You were thinking that those guys were going to do well and go high for you.
yeah. So I think the Houston was another big disappointment.
Yeah.
On my league, a lot of times Garrett Wilson was terrible.
Yep, yep.
Kenneth Walker was a disappointment with his constant injuries. Evan Ingram was a disappointment. Christian Kirk was a disappointment. Zach Moss was a disappointment.
Hmm.
Those are the guys who were on my team. I said, oh my gosh. I had Lamar Jackson in the fourth round, but everyone else. Oh, another one who I loved, but was terrible. Javante Williams. I'm done with Javante Williams.
No, I never liked Javante Williams.
I was gonna say you're the only one who liked Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was like nobody.
Oh,
Liked it.
actually, the guy that really saved me early, J.K. Dobbins.
Yes,
Oh yeah, J.K.
that was a
Dobbins.
great pick.
J.K.
Yeah.
Dobbins saved me. I
Well,
love J.K. Dobbins.
you really called Tommy. I credit you with really calling Harbaugh's effect on the Chargers. Like from the start, you were like, "Look, he's going to establish a ground game, run game. So we got to pick up Dobbins, even with Gus Edwards there." And you nailed it with the Chargers impact.
I was hoping the same thing for Javante Williams here, but that never materialized.
By the way, speaking of Harbaugh, I was reading this really good article the other day about how the Bears, unless they change something, will never go after a personality like Harbaugh because they had a bad taste in their mouth after Ditka, right? So if you look at all the types of coaches they drafted, they were always these younger, not younger, but they were always these like nice guys that supposedly brought good culture, but there was no personality. That's why they keep losing. That's why they keep saying they don't want a Vrabel, they don't want a Harbaugh because those guys have such big personalities that can't control those guys. But those guys are good coaches.
Or Jim, if you look at it, Kevin Warren is now the president of the Bears. He was in charge of the Big Ten when he and Harbaugh were going at it at Michigan
Yeah.
with all the scandal that forced Harbaugh out.
Yeah, I also do. You guys remember when we had it was Singletary, right? Like Singletary came in, he was the guy that was kind of nuts, right? So like, wasn't
Uh,
it once?
No, Singletary was with San Francisco.
You know,
Who was the
it?
linebacker we brought in who was like crazy, like as a coach?
oh, was it the African American guy? I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was wondering if that's what soured them, right? Was like
No, I think it was the Ditka stuff.
it was still Ditka, yeah.
I mean, here's my thing: if you want a good, nice guy, I'm okay if you bring in Ron Rivera because Ron Rivera has proven that he's going to be pretty good. My guess is they're going to try to go after Ben Johnson, but they're going to have to pay a lot for Ben Johnson.
Yeah. I do like a Ben Johnson. You do need someone to work with Caleb Williams and work through it.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Ben Johnson or Cliff Kingsbury?
Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Ben Johnson.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
Cliff-
Kingsbury has a history with Caleb Williams, so I think that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah, but the problem is then what happens to the defense? Like the defense saved us. Our defense is so good. The Bears defense is like solid. So I would hate to see like a turn from that.
Basketball, anyone sticks out in terms of fantasy, betting, all that stuff that you've been looking at?
I've been killing it in fantasy, guys. Fantasy basketball. I'm killing it. It's because my guy Trey Young Trey Young finally figured out he's got to pass the ball to his teammates, and so now he's like this assist machine in addition to his scoring. So I've been having a lot of fun with him and LaMelo Ball have been killing it for me.
Jed, you ever watch those Atlanta Hawk games?
Oh yeah,
Trey Young looks like he's 50. You
yeah,
ever see that guy?
yeah, yeah. He's a. I feel bad for the guy, like receding hairline, like he looks really old.
They actually have a good team though. They got
Very
Josh
good.
Johnson. They got that
Yes.
number one pick that they got.
Yeah.
But they're actually. I mean, I don't think they're like the best team in the world, but they're actually pretty decent.
No. They had, and if they had a nice run in the NBA Cup, and it showed that they can play for
No.
sure. So
Yeah.
The one team that's great to watch is Houston. Houston has a
Yeah.
phenomenal defense. Phenomenal defense.
I like watching
And
Houston, and I like watching OKC.
yeah, yeah. And also my players, as much as I love them, are getting old. Giannis is out with injuries. Luka is out with injuries, and Steph, he is not going crazy like he used to anymore.
Tom, I was thinking about it. You remember how a few years ago you drafted these guys? I think that window is there for you to start getting rid of those guys.
yeah,
It is, but I may go with them for one more year. I
Yeah.
mean,
he's
I
still
love
top
them.
3. You're still top 3.
Yeah. No, but don't you think? Okay, right now, don't you think you want to get rid of at least a couple of them? Because by the end of the season, no one's going to want them anymore. Like, get some value out of it right now.
I'm still hoping to have a playoff run. Hey, forget the records. I mean, I'm going Curry. Look, Doncic is out for a month. Giannis is always out. I don't think they care about the regular season. Just wait until the playoffs.
Yeah.
Give them another year or two, and now start trading and rebuilding.
What do you guys think about LeBron James came out and someone asked him saying about retirement, and he said, honestly, I believe I could play at a high level for another 5 to 7 years.
No, there's no way. No.
You know, I don't know though. This guy, just compare him at age 40 to Michael Jordan. LeBron is playing at a phenomenal level at age 40. I kind of believe him that he could go another 3, 4, 5 years.
You know, I could see a couple years. I don't know if I could see 5, but his strength and conditioning. They were saying, and maybe this is Barkley saying it. They said Barkley was saying the reason why Doncic is always out because he's fat.
I love Barkley. Barkley is so funny, man. That is must see TV, guys. The TNT halftime shows.
Oh, the TNT halftime show was Barkley. There was this clip on TNT talking about how he used to shower.
Yes, with his jersey.
On, and they kept messing with them.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
Well,
yeah,
no, okay, did you see this was a few months ago where he had a bracelet that he got from some guy in the steam room?
in the steam room. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was actually. I think that was 2 years ago. Actually, that he did that. Yeah, it was funny though.
Okay, hey Tom, can I run through a couple things really fast?
Yeah.
Okay, college playoffs, college games today.
Yes.
Alabama, Michigan. Who do you think will win?
Alabama.
Yeah.
Alabama.
I like Alabama.
Alabama.
They're not college playoffs, but Illinois versus South Carolina. South Carolina is favorite to win.
Yeah, I could see South Carolina winning.
Yeah, South Carolina.
SEC, yeah, it's tough.
Penn State versus Boise State.
Oh, Penn State for sure.
No Boise State. And guys, it's a 12 point spread.
Yeah.
I'm taking Boise all the way in that
Okay,
one.
so I'll actually agree. I don't know if Boise State will win, but Penn State I don't think will cover.
Dude,
Yeah,
Penn
but
State
I
is
think-
overrated.
Yeah.
But Penn State will win, though. But I think they will not cover.
I would not be surprised if Boise State wins, guys. I'm telling you. Big Ten is overrated.
Yeah,
Boise
Okay,
State.
so I was listening to somebody debate today. They were like, Penn State always loses in the big games, and even though they're favored by all of these, there is no way they're going to cover those points. And Boise State is actually ranked higher than Penn State.
Boise State is good, and they are not scared, guys. They came in and beat Oklahoma a few years ago, and you just watch that running back coming out of Boise State. Like, this is a good team. So that is one of my favorite picks, Jimmy. It's like a 11.5 point spread right now.
Yeah.
I really like Boise State.
Okay, here's the other thing. Ohio State favored to win over Oregon.
No,
That's
Oregon.
a tough one.
Oregon.
That's tough.
Really?
Yeah, I like Oregon.
Favored to win this title.
Yeah, Ohio State. Remember, Ohio State
Going to beat Oregon.
lost to Oregon in the
Yeah.
regular season, so it's very hard to beat a team twice. So I do like Ohio State in this one, but that's a tough. I'm not betting that game. It's a tough game to call.
Yeah. Ohio State, and then Texas versus Arizona State.
Oh,
Texas.
I hate Texas, guys, but I know
Yeah.
I think Texas is going to win.
Yeah.
But I hate Texas.
Oh, there's one more. This is the game I really want to watch. I think it'll be really good. Notre Dame versus Georgia.
Yes, huge game.
I do
Huge,
think
huge
Georgia
game.
will win, but I think
Yes, because Notre Dame seems to suck at the big games.
Yeah, they lost early in the season and had a
Yeah.
great run. So let's see. But hey, guys, think about too. Next year we got to watch Bill Belichick with
North
UNC.
Carolina,
That's
right?
gonna
Yeah,
be so interesting. Can you imagine? I mean, if you're a college player, wouldn't you want to go play for him? Like instantly, it's like a taste of an NFL coach.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now I'm looking at the Boise State Penn State game.
Dude, I'm betting Boise State all the way. That's my son and I were talking about that one.
Yeah. Anything else that we need to talk about? By the way, let me complain to you, Jed, because you have a lot of Wembayama. He does shoot a lot of threes. He is always out there on the three. Can you please go in for a little bit instead of just shooting threes all day?
I can't complain though. The guy gets I win the blocks just based on him all alone. Like every week I win blocks because of Wembanyama. The guy's amazing. But I
Yes.
agree with everyone's
Yeah.
been talking about in the NBA, how do we stop this problem of people who are 25 to 30% three-point shooters
Yes.
and they're
Yes.
shooting threes?
Look at the NBA games. No one does anything anymore.
Yeah.
They throw it down, they pass
Yeah.
it, and they shoot threes. I don't see an inside game for any. Like no one
Yeah.
drives in anymore.
Yeah.
So the two things, the one suggestion I saw was, which was I thought a pretty good one, which was to say, basically the 3-point line should be a line above the key and extending. So basically, you get rid of those side 3-point lines. So it makes the defense a lot better. Like it's a lot easier to defend the three if you make it up front. So that's an interesting one. The one I like though, and I don't know if anyone's talked about this. What if you got 3 points for a dunk? What if like it would encourage you to dunk, right? So then
Yeah.
that encourages the driving and getting into lane, which is what's fun. Like what we like seeing is all the the pick and roll action down in the middle, which is all gone with the 3-pointers. So
I used
I
to,
don't know.
I used to think the 4-point. Remember they were thinking about
Yeah.
the 4-point line.
Yeah,
I was
not
like,
good.
no, those
No.
idiots. I could see them
No.
trying to shoot 4-pointers all day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always text Jimmy. If I have to do my bets, I usually will parlay Wembayama
Yeah.
more than 2 blocks. Always. I get
Yeah.
it all the time.
Yeah.
Malik Beasley in Detroit, more than 2 3-pointers. Those two will carry me. Sabonis, double every single time. All those guys.
I like Hartenstein in Oklahoma City
Yes.
for
Yeah,
rebounds. He
Mhm.
always gets double-digit rebounds. Yep.
Yeah. So, all right, I got to get going. But thanks. It's been
It's good
good.
seeing you guys. Yeah, it was a great year, everyone. Thanks for the 5 people who listened to us.
Hey, no, hey, look, our 1K league did great. Maybe next year we'll do 2 1K leagues. Right?
yes,
Yeah.
let's do it.
Well, as usual, we're thankful for American Family Insurance. And so hopefully, Jim, they'll come back and get us 2 leagues. And then, Jim, is he going to join us next year as well, too?
Yes, he has to double check with corporate guidelines. So,
Yeah. Hey, but if anyone is interested in being part of this league, we would love for you to attend. And Jim, how can they? Where can they find more information? How
just
can they
message
sign up?
us through our social media accounts, right? Because I think we're going to be. I mean, we're still going to be doing some shows throughout the season, right? We got free agency, we got the draft, so I'm looking forward to like getting together with people.
Yeah.
All right. Talk soon.
See you guys.